with the team. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
On October 12, 2022, Nuri Martinez resigned from the Los Angeles City Council. This came a few days after the world heard Nuri and other elected members of the council speak disparagingly about black people, indigenous people, and others.
This white guy with this little black kid bouncing off the effing walls on the floor. There's nothing you can
And what participants believed was a private conversation, racism, colorism, homophobia, and bigotry were exposed like never before. The effort to undermine the political influence of black fellow citizens was specifically targeted by these so-called leaders. Everyday people stormed the doors of City Hall demanding immediate resignations. Even the President of the United States called for resignations. On Thursday, October 12th, 5 to 7 p.m., KBLA Talk 1580 will host a day of dialogue on the anatomy of anti-black racism and bigotry in Los Angeles with an all-star panel of civic leaders. Don't miss this conversation. Thursday, October 12th, live from 5 to 7 p.m. with an encore performance from 7 to 9 p.m. only on KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win, win, win. And if you going in, put your hands in the air, make them stay there.
I'm Tavis Smiley. I'm delighted to have you with us in this hour. Two conversations on the B side of this hour, a career first for me. I have never interviewed anyone with the first name spelled Tavis. I thought I was the only one. There's another. I'll introduce you to the other Tavis on the B side of this hour, but I'm delighted and pleased to start this hour with the two-time Super Bowl champion, three-time Pro Bowler, first-round draft pick, and Jim Thorpe Award recipient Malcolm Jenkins of the Philadelphia Eagles. He knows a thing or two about winning. He joins us at the top of this hour to discuss his new book, What Winners Won't Tell You. That title got my attention. What Winners Won't Tell You. Malcolm Jenkins, good to have you on. How are you, sir?
I'm doing amazing. I appreciate you having me.
Man, it's my great delight to have you. Thank you for the time, and thank you for the book. That title jumped out at me, What Winners Won't Tell You. Why don't you unpack the title for me first?
Yeah, what winners usually don't tell you is the journey, right? We see the finished product. We see them, getting their trophies or their medals, but oftentimes they don't talk about the failures, the pain, the pressure, the doubt, and the process that they've taken to make themselves, winners, especially consistently.
Yep.
And I know myself, I've been somebody that's had a lot of success, but that's not really, the totality of my story. So when I looked at how I wanted to write my own memoir and tell my story, I wanted it to include everything. The things that people have seen so far and the shadow side of that as well.
Yep. So why do you think winners hide that? And I'm thinking about this question in part because on the occasion of my 20th anniversary in the media years ago, a decade ago now, I was asked to write another book, and they wanted me to write a book about some of the major moments in my career. And what I decided to do, Malcolm, instead was to write a book called Fail Up. And what I did was to write a book about 20 major moments in my career, but they were the 20 worst mistakes I had made and the lessons I'd learned from those mistakes. And so we called the book Fail Up. So I went the exact opposite direction because I feel the same way you feel, that when people see you in the winner's circle, they don't understand all the stuff you had to go through to get there. Somebody said they see your glory, but they don't understand the backstory. The question is, why then do you think winners want to hide that part of the story?
Yeah, I think we get really good at showing the best version of ourselves, either out of necessity or out of vanity.
Mm-hmm.
I even talk about it in the book, struggling with being at the forefront of all of these things and not wanting to show weakness because you've got people that look up to you. You've got a family that's dependent on you. You don't want to be in a place where you look dependent and just being humbled enough by life by things getting hard enough where I had to ask for help and struggling with, mental health and things like that. So I think it's important, that is part of the example, because there aren't many Black men, especially out there, that show up fully vulnerable. And I know that people are following, my example. So it would be a disservice to those behind me to only show them the successes, knowing that they're going to try to navigate what I just went through. Yeah. And I just went through a bunch of landmines, So I think it's important for us to showcase that in the entirety of the human experience, the journey that we take, because that is usually one of the driving factors of that success. It's the trials, it's the tribulations, it's the failures that teach you how to win.
You said two things I want to interrogate right quick, vulnerability and mental health. Let me start with the latter. Tell me about what readers are going to see when they get inside the text with regard to mental health, because, again, you've been pretty straightforward about that, and most folk of your stature, they don't want to be public about stuff like that.
Yeah, I talk about, this concept. We need to check on the strong friends, right? Like, I'm that strong friend that everybody calls when they've got, issues or they need solutions. And, I find myself at the forefront of a lot of movements, companies, my family. And I talk about how the year where everybody would probably assume that it was the best year of my life, I'm going on to win a Super Bowl, was one of the most challenging years in a year in which I was specifically contemplating suicide, because of my anxiety and depression that I was dealing with. And so it's really, that's one of the things that I want people to see. I've gotten a lot of calls from friends that are like, man, I wish I checked on you more. I wish I would have asked questions when I saw you going through this. You seem so poised. You seem so in control. And it's really important, I think, for us to start that dialogue on just, hey, checking on your stronger friends, that we're all kind of going through something, even if they look like they got it all together. You'll see how I had to really pull on some or ask for help and try to help myself navigate dealing with battles of anxiety.
As I said, Malcolm Jenkins knows a little something about winning, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Eagles. His new book, his memoir, it's called What Winners Won't Tell You. I want to come to this notion of vulnerability that you raised a moment ago, because that's worth interrogating. We're talking to Malcolm Jenkins on Tavis Smiley.
More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Escalade IQ. This the intro to the all-electric Cadillac, perfection like Zoom. And on a full charge, you get 450 miles without the stop. Haiku. This is what I do. Daddy fat intellect since 92. Linked all the way back, panoramic roof. Come with 24-inch rim standard. Ooh, why? Shawty don't kill him. Cadillac diamond in the back, cold chillin'. And when I'm on attack, on the track is no ceiling. Sky's the limit. You hear me? Straight drop, no parachutes. Lay lines like a longitude and latitude. Feel it, beloved, clearly we're hustling. Bustin', truckin'. Cadillac, Cadillac, Cadillac.
For more on the Escalade IQ, visit Cadillac.com.
Available late 2024. GM estimate 450-mile range on a full charge based on development testing and/or analytical projection consistent with the CHA 1634 revision 2017 MCT. Range subject to change prior to production. Annual rates may vary based on service factors, including ambiance temperature, terrain, battery age, and condition loading, and how you use and maintain your vehicle.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and, they're putting their money where their mouth is at, So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community. And, you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase and, give them, another look if I go to another institution. I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right. Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event. Or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
Smart talk for curious people just like you. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley's going to get in trouble because he keeps saying the Philadelphia Eagles because that's what comes to mind immediately for me. But as you Malcolm Jenkins fans know, he helped not one but two teams win their only Super Bowls. That would be the Eagles and the Saints. And I should have said that more quickly, given that I'm heard in both New Orleans and Philadelphia. So I don't want to get cussed out by either city. Malcolm, let me just ask right quick, how unique is that? How did that feel to help two teams win their only Super Bowls?
Oh, it's amazing, to really be etched in the history of not only just the franchises, but the city, the both cities. The first one, I was, a young player. It was my first year in the league, and I took that ride, and I saw just, how much that meant to the city of New Orleans, especially, a few short years after Hurricane Katrina, and just how it really galvanized that city. And then I move on to Philadelphia. And as a team captain, I get to kind of plant that vision and that seed in that team and help lead it to its first Super Bowl championship and experience that again in a new city, the same way, both cities are passionate fan bases that love their football team. So it's definitely a unique and special experience that I got to partake in.
No, that is cool, man. Every time I think about that, you had two teams both win their first one. That's a big deal. You were talking earlier about vulnerability, and I want to come back to that because, again, we don't often hear black men talk about mental health, and you're very open in this book, What Winners Won't Tell You. You're very transparent in it, talking about the fact, as you mentioned earlier, that in what many would see on the outside as perhaps one of the best years of your life, you were struggling with some anxiety issues and actually considering suicide. And so I just love the transparency in your text, in your memoir. But you also mentioned a moment ago, again, this issue of vulnerability. Now, what have you learned about being vulnerable, specifically as a black man?
Yeah, I think it allows you to grow. I think most of it is fear, right? Fear that we won't be respected, fear that somebody will hurt us. And so we grow up kind of, protecting ourselves from the environment. And that helps until you start trying to do things that are bigger than you. And because, all of a sudden you need to ask for help. You need to be able to communicate and collaborate. And all of a sudden you don't have those skills because you've been shutting them off your whole life. So I think it's, it's one of those things that eventually we all need to, we're on a journey, we're on an evolution. And part of that evolution is going to be, opening yourself up to experience new things, to learn new things, to meet different types of people and learn information. And my dad I talk about it a lot. My dad always told me, you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. And for me, that you have to be humble enough to assume that there may be something that you don't know. There's a room for growth, a room for improvement, and being humble enough to accept that, you lean into this idea that, you need to be vulnerable enough to find that out and search for that. So I think it's pertinent for the conversation right now about masculinity, about what it means to be a black man. And how that looks. I think we're moving beyond the protect and provide narrative, and there needs to be a more robust conversation around masculinity. And hopefully my example, adds a little bit of context to that conversation.
Yep. You do talk a lot about this in the book. Tell me more about your father.
Yeah, my father is somebody who grew up, his parents separated, but it's very much instilled in me this tribe mentality that, it takes a village to raise a child, he is the first person that laid the foundation of what it looks like to not only love on your family, but love on your community. He'd make us clean up the neighborhood and was always teaching us that you're responsible for home. He signed up a bunch of kids in the neighborhood for football, showed us how to play, taught us all the rules, and just that little bit of influence that he had on one little neighborhood block produced 3 NFL football players, myself included. And so, he's the first person I can look at and say, well, if I just focus on the sphere of influence that I have and pour into that, who knows what that turns into. The seeds that you plant now produce fruit later. And so, he's somebody that definitely was the first version of that vision.
Yeah. I said earlier, in this book, you are so transparent. It's vivid. And that is a trick unto itself, to decide at a particular point in your life that you want to be that transparent about your life story. How did you come to that? And was that a journey? Did you have to wrestle to come to that conclusion that you wanted to be this open in this book, What Winners Won't Tell You?
Yeah, I think, when you're in a public light, especially as an athlete, your story is going to get told regardless of how you want it. Right? People write about you every day.
Yeah.
And we've built up. I know I built up enough, kind of tough skin and thick skin to endure listening to other people's version of you.
Yeah.
But as I start thinking about my daughters and now stepping away from the game and how I want my story to be viewed, you realize that that's another part of it. Like, you have to own your own story and narrative. Nobody can tell your story like you. And so I embraced it. It was fun. It was kind of like the closing, action of my 13-year career. I couldn't just walk away without contextualizing what that even meant for me. So it's very personal, but I think it's like the credits
yeah.
Or the artist telling you about their work or explaining their work after they're done with it.
Yep. What have you learned over the course of your life and certainly your 13-year career about being defined by others? You sort of teed this up for me, and I want to come to it a little more expressly, because you're right. As an athlete, perhaps more than most, athletes come to mind, politicians come to mind, artists come to mind, that you're doing your best to define yourself, but you're in a space where sports writers and journalists and even fans, all of us have our own way of defining Malcolm Jenkins or any other person of your stature and your ilk. What have you learned over the years about being defined by others and perhaps even resisting that?
Yeah, I think a lot of my unhappiness and anxieties were spawned from trying to please everyone. I am very much a people pleaser. My parents used to tell me all the time, like it was more effective telling me that they were disappointed in me than it was giving me a whooping. Right? So I'm one of those kids.
Yeah. That does work. That does work well, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to fight that though, and really start to define for myself and meditate, constantly on what my own standards for winning is. Only I know what if that was my best effort or not. Only I know if I really put in the preparation or not. And so therefore I had to start defining what success is for me, what winning is for me. And that's the thing that, most winners don't tell you, is that it's really not in the result of the game that defines you as a winner or not. That's for everybody else to tell who won the game. But it's the way you win is how you prepare and how you play the game. It's the act of playing and constantly being in the moment, constantly trying to get better. So wins and losses become just part of the overall narrative. You are always playing. And that's really, when I arrived at that point, it made things so much more enjoyable. It allowed me to stay in the moment and focus only on the things that matter to me and not necessarily the fans or the media, but your success being defined by your own standards.
And yet we live in a nation, as you well know, that doesn't like losers. And you played in two cities. The latter, Philadelphia, they boo Santa Claus in Philadelphia, man. They don't play in Philadelphia. You got to come with it in Philly. I hear your point, and yet again, we live in a society, Malcolm, that doesn't abide losers. So however you define winning, that ain't how they define it.
Oh yeah, well, the good thing is my standard is usually higher than anybody else.
Right.
I talk about it in the book. My dad, between myself and my dad, Philly fans were easy to get along with because I'm booing myself just like they are. Like, trust me, they're not harder on me than I am.
Yeah.
And so when you have when you have a high bar, you're not afraid of failure because even failing is going to teach you something to where you're trying to go.
Right. Let me ask a strange question, and you don't cover this in the book per se, but it comes to mind now that we're talking about it. What would you say if I gave you the microphone, which I'm doing right now? What would you say to fans? And I don't mean to color that question anymore. We joked about the way they will boo Santa Claus in Philly. Philly want winners, man. It's a hardworking blue collar city. They want winners in New Orleans, where you also played. But just writ large, when you think about sports, and you were out there for 13 years as a professional in the NFL, what would you say? What are your thoughts about fans these days?
Man, being on the outside of the game,
mm-hmm.
It's now and now being in the seat of a fan. It amazes me of how large the stage is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I really paid attention to how much the country wraps itself around sports, even like football. 4 nights a week in primetime, you've got football. You've got all of these stadiums. There's so much. The business around the game is so large now that I don't think I realized that when I was on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's one of those things where the game is still the game. Like anything you do, whether you're in business, you're in art, you're whatever. Usually the task is always the same. The stakes is what changes,
mm-hmm.
right? So football is the same rules, the same field. Same everything from Pop Warner to the NFL. The only thing that changes is the money, the crowds, the people around the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think I love it. Like not having fans out there in 2020 was a huge difference from an energetic standpoint and how the game was played.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the growing fan base is just reflective of, one, the talent continuing to get better, the sport continuing to grow. We're learning more and more about the athletes. And so playing in specific cities like Philly and New Orleans, those are two of the best cities in the country to be in sports because they're blue collar cities that respect the idea of fighting hard and working as a team to achieve a goal. All of those things are reflected in the daily lives of those cities.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fun to kind of to be that manifestation on the field to reflect the attitude of a city.
Malcolm Jenkins' book is called "What Winners Won't Tell You." What Winners Won't Tell You. Love that title. As you look back on it, Malcolm, aside from the obvious hard work, we kind of talked a bit about that earlier. What would you say in retrospect allowed you to be a winner at so many levels? Super Bowl, Pro Bowl, first round draft pick, Jim Thorpe Award recipient, on and on and on. And you put yourself out there in New Orleans and in Philly. Both cities embraced you, and you embraced them in the work that you did. But on the field, on the gridiron, what is it you think in retrospect that allowed you to become a winner at all of these levels?
Yeah, I think the through line, when I kind of broke down, I go through high school and I'm thinking about my success in college, my success in the pro levels on two teams. The thing that I see that connects all of them is really process. And I talk about this in the book a lot, is the ability to, a lot of us, if we focus on just the end goal, right? Like, hey, I want to win a Super Bowl, and that's all we think about, then we never really take the actions to get there. And we lose, we got to win 17, 18, 19 other games to get there in the first place. So you don't start with the goal at the end. You work backwards into it. And it's just being where your feet are, at all times. So this week or this day, I'm getting better at this one thing. And tomorrow will be that next thing. And the ability to stay locked in on that process, that daily kind of habitual process is what creates the results. It's not, you don't show up on game day and turn on a switch. You've already prepared, day in and day out. Each week you show up, you get better. Every year you show up, you get better. When you start to study people who have success, it's usually that process that you see repeated over and over again. And now I'm at a place in life where I'm taking that same, mindset and applying it to different things. This book came to fruition because I took that same mindset. Okay, I don't know how to write a whole book, but I'm going to just do this one thing every day until, I got a proposal. And then next thing you know, I have an outline. And now I have a book. So it's a very pragmatic approach, but it allows you to stay consistent. It allows you to get a lot done over time. Yeah. And you look up and you've had success now and consistently because you've got a process that you continuously repeat.
I love it. It's the process. Eric, I got less than 2 minutes here. Let me just do two things right quick. One, tell me a bit more quickly about how you navigated the down times. You played 13 years. You win the game. You win Super Bowl twice. Most folk never do that. But there are a lot of down times during that career. How did you navigate the down times?
Yeah, the down times for me are usually the easiest ones to be motivated for. It's like you lose, you get embarrassed. It's easy to come back with some vigor. To me, it was always harder to deal or to work and stay motivated when things were up. After we won the Super Bowl, when you're on a win streak and everybody's patting you in the back, that's when all of a sudden the motivations now are gone and you have to rest on your discipline. Yeah. And if you hadn't built up that process or those muscles, all of a sudden you're wondering why you can't, fall back on, your talent and things like that. So for me, it's always been about, finding something that week to motivate you. So if you're doing well, you got to find the thing that that you got to improve on. Yep. If you're in a bad streak, you got to find the few things you're doing good and build on those. But each week is going to be a different task. I
got 45 tight seconds here left. Let me close with this. How are those 13 years on the NFL field informing the rest of your life?
They inform everything. I think that in and of itself was a process that has now given me the language and pattern recognition to understand business, to understand leadership, to understand how to show up in community, to show how to convene people. It's prepared me for so many different things. And now, my life is expressing, that knowledge through these different verticals.
Malcolm Jenkins is a bad man. His book is called What Winners Won't Tell You. What Winners Won't Tell You. Love the book. Love Malcolm Jenkins. Love all the joy he brought to those of us who watched him play for those 13 seasons. Malcolm, good to have you on, sir. All the best to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Stay strong. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
My daughter was diagnosed with a rare malignant rhabdoid tumor on the spine. They sent her straight to St. Jude. My hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we're not going to give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. When I found out I didn't have to pay, I was just grateful. They saved my baby's life.
Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Thank you for joining us, everyone. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Israel says there will be no end to its airstrikes on the Gaza Strip until Hamas frees all of its hostages. Today's statement comes after the Red Cross called for fuel to be allowed into Gaza to prevent hospitals from, in their words, turning into morgues. Israel has vowed to annihilate Hamas following Saturday's attack that saw hundreds of militants storming the border and taking hostages. The Missouri Supreme Court has agreed to hear a discrimination case involving workers at a now closed Harley-Davidson plant in North Kansas City. The lawsuit was filed 8 days before the plant closed 4 years ago and alleges that mostly black workers who were employed by a contractor were treated unfairly by people who worked directly for Harley-Davidson. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
in South LA. Watch out for a stalled vehicle on the 110 North, just past the 105. That's blocking a right lane, causing a little slowdown there. Sigler continues in Diamond Bar, 57 South, the Brea Canyon Road. Your 2 right lanes are blocked there. In the Mid-City area, 10 East at National, a vehicle fire on the off-ramp. And in Encino, 101 South at White Oak Avenue, a stall in your left lane.
Wendy's new Pumpkin Spice Frosty is peak fall. It'll make any kind of fall fun even fallier. So no matter how you fall, grab a rich, creamy Pumpkin Spice Frosty from Wendy's today. Limited time only at participating U.S. Wendy's. Vanilla Frosty is temporarily unavailable.
Make your next lunch a lunch combo from Buffalo Wild Wings. Choose from wings, street tacos, and more. Head to Buffalo Wild Wings or order online at buffalowildwings.com. At participating locations for a limited time, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Price and participation vary by location. Taxes extra. See menu for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It happened again. For the second straight year, the Dodgers win 100 games in the regular season, then get eliminated in their first playoff series. The Dodgers lose by 2 last night and got swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. The Dodgers were also on the wrong end of history. Lance Lynn gave up 4 home runs in the 3rd inning, the first time a team had that many homers in 1 inning in a playoff game. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, the Dodgers' best hitters, were combined 1 for 21 in the series. Mookie was 0 for 11. The Pac-12 Conference had media day for the upcoming men's basketball season. Arizona, USC, and UCLA were picked to finish 1, 2, and 3 in the conference. Still no word yet on when USC freshman Bronny James will be cleared to start practicing with the team. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We're celebrating 1 year of the K. From checking out the vibrant art and diverse dining in Leimert Park to cheering on your favorite team in Inglewood, you can choose your own adventure when you ride the Metro K-Line. Leave the car at home and go Metro. Visit metro.net/K-Line. Walk to save lives. Join the American Heart Association's Los Angeles Heart and Stroke Walk, Sunday, October 22nd at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. Team up with friends and family and walk to end heart and stroke. Every step you take and every dollar raised will help save lives and make our community a healthier place for all. Learn more and sign up for free at heartwalkla.org. Sponsored by Optum, UCLA Health, Providence, Keck Medicine of USC, and Dignity Health.
What's up? I'm Danelle Riley, FAMU alumni and creator of the HBCU Culture Shop. I am so proud of my new partnership with Black Beyond Measure and Target. They help me elevate community pride with my HBCU designs and continue to support Black creators and entrepreneurs with Target HBCU challenges, scholarship programs, and campus collaborations. Let's come together this homecoming season and beyond. Shop my brand and discover other Black-owned products at target.com/blackbeyondmeasure.
The Green Foundation, key health influencer, empowering our Black communities through action. The Green Foundation advocates for affordable health care, accessibility, and knows the importance of culturally relatable health care. Regardless of income, we believe it is a right for optimum health. The Green Foundation has been at the forefront for 25 years, dedicated solely to promoting prevention through early detection, annual screenings, and nutrition. We know you because we are you. Our hand-holding approach supports you and your family to receive your right to be treated fairly and receiving quality healthcare services. We want you and your family to know COVID-19 was devastating to our families and to our wallet. We can build back better by understanding prevention, wearing your mask, washing your hands, social distancing, and understanding the impact of long COVID. Get the care you deserve. Take advantage of your privileges. Contact us, info@thegreenfoundation.net. info@thegreenfoundation.net.
Let's get back to more of Tavis Smiley right now.
Indeed, and speaking of winners like Malcolm Jenkins, we turn to Iowa, where a young brother named Tavis Hall just won a county board supervisor seat. He puts the black in Black Hawk County. He represents Waterloo, and he calls Waterloo the black capital of Iowa, so there are some black folk in Iowa, and he likely has some insights on the upcoming Iowa caucuses. As you well know, Iowa will set it off in January, holding the first caucuses for both parties in the presidential election for 2024. This is a moment for me. In my entire career, 30-plus years, I've never interviewed or conversed with anybody who has a first name spelled Tavis. He pronounces his, as I said, Tavis, and I am Tavis. This should be fun. Tavis Hall, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing all right. Excited to finally settle this debate on Tavis or Tavis.
So the debate. What you gonna go with? You gonna go with Tavis or Tavis?
Oh man, hey, I've heard Tavis for 38 years, so it's really good to chat with you.
No, the honor's all mine. I thought we'd have some fun with this. So tell me what you know about your name and how you got it, and why it's pronounced Tavis.
Sure. So. My mom, we didn't have a whole lot of money, come from money.
Mm-hmm.
She was of very humble means, and so she was looking through a name book at a store, and when she finally found the name, she came across the name Tavis, and it meant son of David.
Mm-hmm.
My father's name is David, and so she put the book back on the shelf, but Tavis was it. She stuck with it. So I'm intrigued as to how you got to Tavis, though.
That's a good question. So my aunt, who sadly was murdered, we believe met a man in Texas who may have had the name Tavis. And she was fond of that name and suggested to my mother, you should consider naming this boy Tavis. It was unique and interesting. But we think it was my aunt who passed that on to my mom, and so here I am. I don't have a grandiose story like Son of David, like you do. But that's my story. At least that's what I heard, and I'm sticking to it. But I'm delighted again to be in dialogue with you. I suspect now, as you continue to climb in Iowa politics, I'll get confused with you somewhere down the road, and they'll start calling me Tavis.
That's a golden life right there. That's a golden life right there for you to catch a Tavis.
Yeah, there you go. They'll start calling me Tavis one day. Of course, I've been called many things. I just tell folks, you can call me anything, just don't call me late for dinner. Whatever you do, don't call me late for dinner. I digress. Let me ask you. Tell me first of all about Black Hawk County. I think a lot of folk don't think there are any black folk in Iowa, and here you are now, having won this major board seat in Black Hawk County. As I said moments ago, and we'll talk about it, we know the eyes of the nation will be on Iowa for this first caucus come January. But tell me about Black Hawk County and how you won this supervisorial seat.
Sure. Yeah. So we're about the 6th largest county in the state.
Mm-hmm.
Iowa is an incredibly white state, the 5th whitest state in the country.
Oh yeah.
Black Hawk County does have 9% black folks, and Waterloo, particular, is about 16%. And so we do have a sizable black population. Largely came from Mississippi as a part of a labor strike, actually, with the railroad. And so black folks have been here. Black folks have called Waterloo home for about 70 to 80 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we are 131,000, a population of 131,000 here throughout the county. We've got the University of Northern Iowa, one of the founding homes of John Deere Tractor, which really sort of puts us on the map, not just across the state, but globally. And so, Black Hawk County has a lot going for it. It's had its struggles as well, as really any community across the state and the nation. But at the end of the day, we've got some really good folks who call it home, and I'm honored to have won the seat in November, taking this office in January as a unapologetic small business progressive. Talking about the value of investing in our people, really as one and first and foremost a way to simply do the right thing, but it also makes those investing public dollars into people makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think too often we lose sight of the fact, that people are not the enemy of profit. We are, in fact, the generators of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, so there's an opportunity, I think, here locally to articulate that message and to make sure that local government reflects the values I ran, because I didn't see my values reflected in local government, and I'm I'm pleased to be able to help shape public policy here at the local level.
No, that's a beautiful thing, brother. Black folk are put upon everywhere in this country. No question about that. We have our challenges no matter where we live. And yet I'm trying to imagine what it must be like to be black in the fifth whitest state in the nation. I don't have that story here in California where I sit right now. But when you are black and you are in the fifth whitest state in the nation, what's it like navigating life every day?
There are of course struggles. There's struggles for black folks wherever we are.
Mm-hmm.
There's struggle for folks who don't have means wherever they are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that there are a lot of points of commonality. I think too often folks want to point to the points of division, but in fact there are many points of commonality. I think that we're all better served focusing on. We're all better served focusing on making sure that when someone is sick, they get health care. When they get treated, they aren't focused on the bill as much as they're focused on a clean bill of health.
Mm-hmm.
That when folks, it is awful for local ecosystems for folks to have to worry about losing their home because they can't make a rent payment 1 month or they can't make a mortgage payment 1 month. And if we were investing more into the people that call our places home, and at times that might mean assistance. What we would ultimately see is all of us thriving without the burden that too many face. And when the least amongst us does well, everybody does well.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to push that message here locally. I think there's been some success. It is certainly interesting being black in Iowa.
Yep.
And especially the political climate, that we live in today. It was interesting. 2022, there was supposed to be a red wave. It didn't happen in most of the country, but it did happen in Iowa. We lost seats that we should have never lost.
Yeah.
And the impacts of that is, frankly, a governor who is not taking seriously the issues facing black Iowa, brown Iowa, gay Iowa, any sort of otherism that the Republican Party can place upon folks as a tool of division, they've utilized.
I want to talk politics when we come forward here, this is getting good, as we say around here. There are a few things you've just teed up that I want to interrogate and give you a chance to expound upon. This is cool. You're listening to the Tavis and Tavis show right now.
Seeking the truth. Speaking the truth. This is the Tavis Smiley Show.
What is dedication?
My biggest fear in the middle of my addiction was that my kids wouldn't have a father. And I started thinking, you know what? This isn't my story. I definitely had to become a better man to be a better father. It's important to me that my kids are empowered and truly believe that if they can think it, they can do it.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
At City National, we listen to you.
I want to expand my business and my legacy.
I want to set up the next generation for success.
I want to see my vision come to life.
I want to feel right at home. Your goals, passions, vision, future. We want to hear it and work alongside you to achieve it. Visit cnb.com to learn more. City National Bank. Here for our clients and communities.
The City of Los Angeles Civil Rights Department and its Reparations Advisory Commission are calling on you to be a part of something powerful. Join the Black Experience Study to share your experiences with the City of Los Angeles. We want to hear your stories. To join the study, join a focus group, or schedule an interview with us, visit www.blackexperiencela.com by December 31st. For more information, call 213-978-1845 or visit www.laisforeveryone.com.
Hey, son, how are you feeling?
I'm fine, Pops.
What's on your mind?
I can't explain it. Navigating without a compass, eyes waiting, started to wonder. Metamorphosis, the loss of who you thought you was.
When your kid can't find the language, help them find the lyrics. Listen to the Sound It Out album and get tips and tools to start a conversation at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
As veterans, we're no strangers to helping others.
That's what we were taught, service before self.
But we do have one question for the veterans listening.
When is the last time you reached out for help?
If you or someone you know needs resources, whether it's for stress, finances, employment, or mental health, don't wait. Reach out.
Find more information at va.gov/reach. That's va.gov/reach.
Brought to you by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs and the Ad Council.
He's rooting for everybody black. Everybody black. More of Tavis Smiley coming your way right now.
So Tavis Hall, Supervisor Tavis Hall out of Iowa, I was thinking during that break about the politics that you were describing that are in play right now in the state of Iowa, aside of the first caucus come January for both parties. I was listening to you run that list of things that are, that not so fun to hear about the state of politics in Iowa right now. And my mind went back literally 15 years ago, and you know where I'm going here, 15 years ago to 2008, when a black man named Barack Hussein Obama won the Iowa caucus and just turned the whole body politics on its ear when he put off that victory in the Iowa caucus 15 years ago back in 2008. So what's happened between then and now that's got the politics in Iowa so red?
Yeah, I mean, look, I grew up in Iowa in the 1990s. Tom Harkin was a U.S. Senator.
Sure.
Tom Vilsack was our governor. Fast forward between the Mississippi River and the Missouri River and all 99 counties in between, folks realized that hope was not just a dream back in 2008. And so, we fast forward to now, and it is at an all-time low. We do not have the type of infrastructure, democratic infrastructure, to push back on the type of messaging, the divisive messaging that comes out of the Republican Party, specifically the divisive legislation that comes out of the Republican legislature. We do not have a system in place to push back. And when we fail to invest in local candidates, when we fail to invest in that system to help propel folks, we don't have folks out knocking doors. We don't have the type of volunteer efforts that we've had in the past. I can recall back to early days. I actually sort of cut my teeth in politics during the 2007-2008 caucuses. I was an early hire with then Senator Obama's staff, and we were having conversations in coffee shops. We were having weekly canvas events, phone bank events. We don't have that type of volunteer engagement anymore, and I really think that the entire state is losing out because we don't have Democrats as a united front really articulating a progressive message.
Whatever one thinks of Barack Obama, I've said this many, many times, whatever one thinks of him, I have never in my lifetime seen a presidential campaign that was better organized than his. His organization was off the charts. So what's happened to organizing on the Democratic front in Iowa? Why is it so inept? Or why is it on life support?
I think we've really lost the ability to pick the best of the bunch in terms of organizers. We used to have a program, a paid canvas program. It gave a ton of young folks an opportunity to knock doors, engage with community, ensure that folks were, voting with absentee ballot and voting from home. We've peeled back, and so now the first entry point is organizing. So instead of folks sort of proving that they've got the chops to do the organizing, we're asking them to do it in real time. And I think we've really failed ourselves in positioning the party for the future.
Tavis Hall is now one of the most powerful African-American leaders in the state of Iowa. Iowa, the place to hold the first caucus come January for both parties, and we'll talk about what he thinks we can expect come January, just around the corner, when the whole nation has its eyes on Iowa. We'll continue with Tavis Hall when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Hope, agency, dignity. This is Tavis Smiley.
Can you dig it? Come on!
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Only 1 in 5 people with autism are employed, despite many having the skill set and desire to work.
Maybe it's because employers don't know what kind of jobs they can do. Like, what about a programmer?
That's a job for someone with autism.
How about a healthcare worker?
Yep, that is too. People with autism can do a lot of different jobs, but often get overlooked due to outdated stigmas. Introducing WIN by Autism Speaks. We help businesses lead the way in inclusive hiring.
What about a ranch hand?
To learn more, go to autismspeaks.org/win.
More honesty than you can handle. More empowerment than you can imagine. You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley.
You're tuned in to Tavis Smiley talking with Tavis Hall, both spelled Tavis. I'm Tavis, he's Tavis, and what a delight for me to be in dialogue with him. Now one of the most powerful African-American elected officials in the state of Iowa. Yes, there are some Negroes in Iowa, and some who have power, like Tavis Hall. So, Tavis, I want to make the most of these 4 minutes I have left here. Take me inside caucus night in Iowa. The whole nation will be watching this come January, literally just a few months from now. We'll all be watching Iowa. So when I see this, I always see, I'm not sure I've ever seen a bunch of black folk on caucus night. So just give me a sense of what caucus night in Iowa is like.
Depends on where you're at.
Right.
I'll tell you a really quick story.
Okay.
Here in Waterloo, 2008, one of the best memories of my life was after working almost 72 hours straight leading up to the Iowa caucuses, getting ready, organizing volunteers, phone banks, canvases, all of that, not just from local volunteers, but from folks across the country coming to Waterloo just to try to push this message of hope and change. Having my precinct, which had 11 delegates, we had enough folks to carry all 11 delegates for Barack Obama. When I walked into the middle school where the caucuses were being held, I had never. It was very rare that you would see that many black folks in one space at one time, especially And so black folks do have the ability to impact the way elections are held, the outcome of elections here in the state, and as 2008 proves, really for the rest of the country. Because if to your point, if this wasn't the springboard for then Senator Barack Obama, we may not have had a President Barack Obama.
No,
and so
to my mind, ain't no maybe to it. Let me tell you why I say that, Tavis.
Yeah.
Because I have to always remind black folk that y'all were not the first ones to put your imprimatur on Barack Obama. Negroes love to act like we discovered Barack Obama and made him. No, that ain't what happened. When in the Iowa caucuses 15 years ago, leading into those caucuses, Hillary Clinton across the nation was leading Obama 2-1 with black folk. I'll say that again. She was leading Barack Obama 15 years ago 2-1 with black folk. Not because we didn't hate Obama, we just didn't know him. We knew the Clintons. And so they were leading with black folk 2-1 until the night of the Iowa caucus, when the good white folk with these African Americans, but when the good white folk in Iowa put their imprimatur on Barack Obama, everybody in black America said, oh, shoot, this Negro just won in Iowa. And that's when everybody else started to look at Barack Obama and consider maybe this brother had a chance. But I always remind people, no. Get your story right. It was the good white folk in Iowa who gave Barack Obama that win that night. They got all the rest of us to see him differently. And so I take your point. The work that you and other black folk did, along with the good white folk, to give him that victory is what allowed us to look at him through a different prism, look at him through a different lens. And it was only then, when he pulled off Iowa, that black folk, one by one, state by state, precinct by precinct, started to line up. But get your frame right. That's the true story, how it happened. The white folk in Iowa did it first, and when they said this brother is okay, the rest of us lined up. That's the true story. Let me ask you right quick in the 2 minutes I have left here, Tavis, given all that you've described earlier in this hour about the rabid Republican politics, racist politics at play in Iowa right now, what do you expect that we can expect come caucus night, literally just weeks down the road in January?
Whoever wins on the Republican side is going to be ugly. We're poised for a fight. Donald Trump is, of course, well positioned in the state as he is across the country. You've got DeSantis, who's coming down. You've got Tim Scott, who seems like he's maybe making his way up. But it's going to be nasty. I have very low expectations for civility and decency and even morality coming from that side of the aisle.
That might be the quote of the day. It's going to be nasty. That may be the quote of the day. It's going to be nasty. Well, whatever it's going to be, we'll all be watching literally some weeks down the road from now in January when Iowa holds the first caucus. But we can count on our new friend in Iowa to keep it real. His name is Tavis Hall. He is now a board supervisor. Put the black in Black Hawk County, and I couldn't be more excited about it. Supervisor Hall, good to have you on the first time, hopefully not the last time. Congratulations, my friend.
I appreciate you, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
Likewise, all the best to you. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you. Their words turning into morgues. Israel has vowed to annihilate Hamas